1, 2, 3. And we are live. Welcome to episode 53 of the Ask Yourself Believe Chief podcast. Got my friend Matt, who's also tuned in, so hello to you as well. This is episode 53. As I said, we're going to talk about performing in front of an audience, performing in front of a crowd. Or in front of certain individuals, we may feel that pressure and that stress. So it's how can we combat that and how can we tackle that? And if you've got any questions or you want to talk about a particular situation where you struggle to perform in front of an audience or in front of a crowd or whatever, maybe you're an athlete and you struggle to perform in front of a crowd, maybe you do a lot of public speaking, whatever it is, you got, do a lot of business presentations. If you've got a problem, then by all means, I want to hear about it. So send in your questions in the comments below. I'm going to check my other screens as well so I can to get around to them. So I've got a question here which says, how can you avoid being part of something bad? How can you avoid being part of something bad which you're already part of? So let me rephrase that question. So how can you avoid something bad when you're already a part of it? So it's an interesting question. I'd like to know a bit more in terms of what you're referring to. What is this bad thing that you're a part of? But, there's a quote which says, you are the sum of the 10 people you spend your time with. So if you spend people who have a negative influence on your life, you are going to total up that. And life is short. You can't afford to be around those particular people for too long. You can have different types of friends, though. You can have friends that are people you just hang out with. You can have friends who, you're sort of more career driven. You can have friends who, more spiritual, more religious or whatever, and they don't have to like everything, anything and everything. So that's what I would say is take yourself out of the situation if you truly believe that person's having a negative influence or the situation is having a negative influence, because, you just can't afford to waste that time. Okay, so next question is how to focus on something that is most important part of your life. So I'm going to assume that's around being distracted, and that ties in quite well with what I was going to say in terms of performing in front of an audience or crowd. So I'm going to tie the two in together. So if you want to focus on something that's really important and not be distracted, distractions are usually to do with something negative or has an adverse effect, because otherwise you wouldn't call it distraction, would you? You'd call it, something positive. But maybe you get distracted by watching YouTube videos. Maybe you get distracted by, something else fun that you do. Now, distractions aren't always the worst thing. What I would say is that if there's a medium that you like, if you love listening to podcasts, you love watching TV, you love YouTube videos or whatever, do that, but just make sure you're doing it in the area that you're passionate about. And then you get the best of both worlds. You get to enjoy that medium, but also enjoy it and learn and educate yourself at the same time. I think that's the most important thing. I love YouTube, but I want to, I make sure that when I'm watching videos and when I'm doing stuff, I'm educating myself at the same time. And that's the best way you can do it, so that you can, change your point of view. You're not always going through the same thing. You're not just reading books. You're not just listening to podcasts. You're not just watching videos. Mix it up and change the mediums, because it will keep everything fresh and new and exciting and help you progress quicker. Now, how to stay focused? Now, whatever you focus on, you feel. Whatever you focus on, you feel. And say if you're doing public speaking, you're doing public speaking and you start focusing on that person's not looking at me, giving me eye contact. If that person looks like they're falling asleep, if that person's talking to that person, if all those things, if you notice and pick those things up and you just digest that information whilst you're speaking, you lose the track and train of thought of what you're doing. You cannot afford to do that. And in many ways, it's selfish to be distracted in that way. Let me explain. I think it's selfish to be distracted in that way because your focus has to be on providing and serving others. And actually, any time that you spend, which is focusing on what people think of me, is wasted opportunity and a wasted chance for you to help and serve others. So I really want you to change that and work on that, because that perspective, that, concern or worry about what other people think, it's going to kill you. It's going to make sure you don't do what you want to do in your life. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to be able to deliver. So that's what I would say to that particular question. Now, in terms of performing in front of people, there's a few things you can do to really address the situation. The first thing is get comfortable with the environment you are in. So whether you're an athlete and you're performing in a stadium, whether you're doing, as I say, public speaking and you're performing in a particular room or venue, be in that place prior. I want you to look at one particular point in the place, in the environment that you are. And then I want you to use your peripheral vision to look and consider everything else around you. If you use that peripheral vision to look and consider everything else around you, you start to get a perspective of what everything looks like at once. And it's a new environment, it's the unknown. So when you do public speaking, it's a new environment, it's the unknown that can unsettle you. So if you get in the room, you look at a spot in the room, and then you look at the hindsight and peripheral vision, preferably where and roughly you're going to be standing and performing, then you start to become comfortable and actually start to own the room. The room is on your side. You can work with the room. And actually you might see things in the room that help trigger something that like, oh, that'd be a good idea, or that'd be a good idea. So you can look at it that way. Same as if you're performing in a stadium as an athlete, I need you to start to try and find a way to adopt that stadium as yours. That's easy to do when you play at home because exactly what you are aware of all of your surroundings. When you go away, you need to become more aware of all the surroundings around you. That's the first thing. The next thing you need to do is work on your breathing. As I say, I often talk about breathing, but controlling your breathing so you're not breathing through your mouth, which activates the vagus nerve, which sends a stress signal to the brain, that you're breathing in through your nose. Breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, and breathing out for 8. That will give you the right state of mind. They're the two things I would say in particular that can help control your nerves in front of an audience, in front of a crowd. So that's the first thing I would say. Okay, next question from Nika. When we want to ignore something, but we still have mind that things that we should have to do. We want to ignore something, but we still... So can you rephrase that question? So I'm not quite getting that question. So when we want to ignore something, but still we have in mind the things we should have to do. Not sure. If you could just rephrase that question, that'd be really helpful because I'm not sure about that one. Let's take another question. Let's check the other platform, see what we've got going on. Okay. What have we got on Facebook? So I'm an athlete and I struggle to perform when I am away from home. How can I help with this? So as I said, it's when you're playing at home, you're obviously comfortable with the surroundings. You need to spend time digesting. But people sort of, as I said, they kind of just look around and expect that to be taken in. No, look at a spot in the stadium, look at the spot of the ground and use your peripheral vision, because the idea and the point is that you know what's around you when you're not looking at it. If you're just looking around the place, then yeah, anyone can see what's over there and then they look over there and see what's over there. But if you can look one way and know what's over behind you, that makes you feel more comfortable in your surroundings. So I think that's the main thing for me. Okay, right. So I want to give a good example of this in performing in front of an audience. I'm going to use myself. So I used to be a footballer, I used to be an athlete, and it was something I really struggled with. It seemed to be quite a shift from sort of youth football to men's football, and all of a sudden there were lots of people there, and people who could go on your Facebook and pull out all your personal details and criticize, and very inventive, very creative, but who could point out and pull out all these details and say just the worst, most unimaginable things that you can think of. So I was performing one particular day, and we were 3-0 down at half time. I had not played well. The fans let me know I hadn't played well, and when I walked off the pitch, they really let me know. And I could hear everything they had to say. But the second half was going to be different. Before I carry on the story, for those tuning into Instagram, please leave your comments in the questions below, and I will get around to them. So you've got any questions, anything we're talking about, performing in front of an audience or crowd, leave it in the comments box down here. Okay, so we got to the second half, and I had all these fans, belittling me and abusing me and whatever else. And I was just so done. I was just like, why can't they be on my side on this? We're all in this together. Well, the thing was, and we were playing at home, so I sort of knew the stadium, but it was all of a sudden everything was foreign to me, and I just had to recompose myself, pull myself back into where I was, take in the surroundings, become, refamiliarize with myself, control my breathing, get myself in a good state by adapting a more positive posture, making sure that the right signals are being sent through the body. And that's the way I could, change things. And actually, we got back to 3-3. So it went to a penalty shootout, and then I managed to save 3 penalties, all because I made those simple adjustments in the second half. Very, very simple adjustments, but it just transformed the game. And that's how quick and easy it can be. And for whatever you want to achieve in your life, that's how quick and easy it can be for you. You are really, really super capable of many, many more things. And if you can learn to perform in front of others and they can see you perform at your absolute best, then there's no saying in terms of what your limits and capabilities are. Don't be reliant, though, on what people think of what you do. Just perform at your best and just concentrate on giving them value. If they like the value, great. If they don't like the value, it's not the end of the world. So that's what I would say. My name is David Holman. If you change today will change your life. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life. Make sure to download podcast episodes. Be doing a podcast pretty much every day at the moment. You can go to selfbeliefchief.com/pod. /pod. You can send me questions on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. And I want to leave you with a question, which is that, what is it that you do that you have to perform, where you have to perform in front of an audience? Let me know. Send me a question wherever, and I will get around to answering that particular question. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life wherever you are. And I'll see you on episode 54.